Welcome to this explainer. Today we're looking into something incredibly heartbreaking, the July 2026 East New Britain boat tragedy in Papua New Guinea. Whenever a disaster like this strikes, rumors just spread like wildfire. But today we're cutting through all that noise, we're going straight to the official reports and survivor accounts to figure out exactly why and how this awful accident actually happened.
Here's how we're going to break this down. 1. The East New Britain tragedy. 2. Dispelling rumors of piracy. 3. How the first boat capsized. 4. A tragic rescue attempt. 5. Severe weather and currents. And finally, 6. The ongoing recovery mission.
All right, let's start with Section 1, the East New Britain tragedy, and that fateful trip back from the Pang Pang sandbank.
So, let's look at this timeline. It really shows just how fast a joyful family outing turned into an absolute nightmare. It was Saturday, July 18th. A big group was out enjoying a picnic at the Pang Pang sandbank. At 3:30 p.m., they load up into two dinghies. One's got a 60-horsepower engine, the other a 75-horsepower, and they head back toward Kokopo. But by late afternoon, they hit violently rough seas. Both boats actually capsize off the coast of Pigeon Island. And it wasn't until a grueling 6 hours later that the only two survivors, the guys operating the boats, finally washed ashore at Bide Village, triggering this massive multi-provincial alert.
27. That is the devastating number of passengers initially reported missing that afternoon. I really want you to keep that number in your head because it anchors us to the sheer scale of this thing. These weren't just solo travelers. We are talking about 4 entire families. Infants, young kids, older adults, a local ward member, and even 5 staff members from the Provincial Health Authority.
Moving on to Section 2, dispelling rumors of piracy and establishing the objective facts.
Right after they disappeared, there was this massive information vacuum. And as you can imagine, wild speculation just took over. Social media was completely flooded with rumors of foul play and piracy. But after sitting down and interrogating the 2 survivors, the provincial police commander, Superintendent Amanda Cates, completely shut those rumors down. Her statement was super clear. At no time was any other boats involved in this incident. No act of piracy occurred. So, with piracy completely ruled out, what actually caused these boats to go down?
That brings us right to Section 3, how the first boat capsized and a step-by-step breakdown of the mechanics.
Okay, let's look at the actual physics here, exactly as the survivors explained it to the police. The core reason for this accident? Sudden, overwhelming force from the ocean. Step 1. As they're heading to Kokopo, the first boat hits a massive, severe upswell. Step 2. The sheer force of this wave literally lifts the back of the boat, the stern, entirely out of the water. Step 3. This violent angle forces the bow straight down into the deep water. And Step 4. The whole thing immediately capsizes, throwing everyone into this chaotic sea. It was just basic physical mechanics overpowering a small boat in a matter of seconds.
Let's move to Section 4, a tragic rescue attempt, to look at the fate of that second vessel.
Now this is absolutely crucial to understand. The 2 boats actually sank for completely different reasons. The first one, like we just saw, was physically overpowered by a wave. But the second boat, the skipper saw the people in the water and immediately turned back to help. But human survival instinct kicked in. Terrified people in the water desperately tried to climb into the second dinghy all at the exact same time. The sheer uneven weight of everyone scrambling on board caused severe instability. The boat just couldn't handle the disorganized weight, and tragically, it flipped over too.
Which leads us to Section 5, severe weather and currents, and the environmental conditions at play.
You might be wondering, why couldn't they just swim to safety, or at least stick together? Well, once they were in the water, the environment became their absolute worst enemy. It wasn't just the upswells. There were severe winds whipping across the surface. The survivors said visibility was incredibly limited, so in all that chaos, they lost sight of everyone else almost instantly. On top of that, the currents were unbelievably aggressive. To give you an idea, the first overturned boat, with a heavy 60-horsepower engine still attached, was eventually found drifting miles and miles away in New Island. The ocean literally swept the evidence and the victims right across provincial borders.
This brings us to our final section, the ongoing recovery mission, transitioning to closure and investigation.
This created a massive logistical nightmare for the authorities. Because the currents dragged everything so far north, the Provincial Disaster Committee Chairman, Levi Mano, had to coordinate a huge multi-provincial response. They realized bringing bodies back to East New Britain by boat just wasn't practical over such massive distances. So the Kavieng Hospital morgue in New Island became the primary receiving point. From there, they actually had to organize helicopter airlifts to bring the bodies back home to the Nanga Hospital morgue in East New Britain for forensic exams.
13. By late July, only 13 bodies had been recovered from that unforgiving sea. That includes 18-year-old Clemencia Victor and her mom, who were found all the way on the shores of Jal Island. That means 14 people are still tragically missing. Right now, at Nunga Hospital, disaster victim identification experts and a forensic pathologist are going through the painstaking process of autopsies to compile a factual report for the coroner.
And that leaves us with a really heavy but necessary question to consider. As the coroner's inquest begins examining these facts under oath, what findings might finally bring closure to the grieving families of East New Britain? Figuring out the exact mechanics of the upswell and that frantic rescue attempt, it absolutely helps shut down those malicious rumors, but it doesn't take away the pain. Authorities are begging the public to stop the social media trials and just let the forensic teams do their jobs. The facts of why this happened are clear, and now the focus has to be entirely on finding those who are still lost and bringing them home.